Hey guys, what's up? Well, the weather was nice and warm, so I figured, you know what, it's time for me to work the kinks out of myself because it was a long winter. Start cutting again. So I got my cutting stand, got some bottles, but instead of just making this a video where it's like, hey guys, look at me cutting stuff up. No, I thought instead I would address something, like make this a more useful video. Because there's something that I'm noticing that people who train in swordsmanship are doing with their cutting that I think is hurting their technique, so I thought I'd talk about it. So anyway, there's some of you guys out there, you look on the internet, you look on YouTube, and you see people chopping some stuff up with their sharp katanas, and you think to yourself, hey, I'm a responsible adult. I want to have fun with this too. So you go and you buy yourself a katana, you save up your money, and, get a katana similar to what I got here. And you get your cutting stand, and you get your bottles or tatami mats or whatever, and you wind up, you make your big swing, and you chop through, and it's all satisfying. You see, the stuff is sliced in two, and it feels great. You're like, hey, look, got me a katana for cutting stuff. And hey, you know what? Nothing wrong with that. You're just a backyard cutter. You know the basics of cutting. You're doing it safely. Hey, it's fun. Have a good time. Every now and then it's fun to have a little bit of dangerous fun. Just do it safely. There's nothing wrong with that. Just have fun chopping stuff up in your backyard all willy nilly. Nothing wrong with that. But there are actually those of you out there who do test cutting, and you actually train in a martial art, or you train in an actual sword art. And I got a question for you guys. Why is it that when you guys are cutting, some of you, not all of you, but why is it that when you guys cut, you don't employ the techniques that you would actually use when you fight? I mean, the Japanese guys, yeah, I understand. Like when you see them doing those swings, that's how they fight, so it makes sense. But there are some of you guys who use long swords or even Chinese swords, and you use them like katana, but that's not how you fight. Or worse, you fight with particular techniques, and then when it comes time to cut targets, you're making these really big swings that would leave you open in a real fight. Why do you do that? Like, look at that. That's not what you do when you fight, is it? No, no. You keep the sword in front of you, don't you? And you use like a minimal motion, like a parrying motion, and then cut. I mean, that's not a perfect cut. I did a little bit too much follow through there, but you see what I mean? Like, when I do my cutting, I try to cut the same way that I would if I was fighting someone. Like, I try to employ the actual techniques that, I would use. Like, here, keep my sword in front of me, parry, cut. That's what I do. And if you notice, like, I try to keep my sword in front of me. The circular motion wasn't this huge, big wind up that goes around my whole body. I just little tick, and there you go. Like, there, I cut the cap off, as I'll show you. Yeah, I'm talking to the neighbor's kid because he was watching me. But yeah, I try to employ the actual techniques that are part of my training. Go back and watch if you can. And I'm noticing a lot of you guys don't do that, and I think it's hurting your technique because the whole point of cutting in the first place, doing these type, with whether it's a tatami mat or water bottles or whatever, it's to refine our fighting technique. That's what it's for. It's to teach us what it's like to actually cut with our weapon. But we also need to cut the way we would with our weapon. Like if you're using a long sword, cut your target the same way that you would fight with a long sword. Don't do that. That's not what you do, is it? No, you like me. I do a minimal parrying motion, like that. Like the first cut was a quick little parry, a ward away and cut, and the second one was a cloud parry and then cut. That's the way I would fight. So if you're a longsword guy, if you're a Hema guy, don't cut with it like you're using a katana. Or don't cut with it, like with these big ass swings and huge follow through. Because that's what's going to get you killed in a real fight. It's almost as if you don't really have confidence in the techniques that you're training in, because when it comes time to cut through your target, you're doing stuff other than how you would fight. That makes no sense. I always try to employ the way I would fight in how I cut. Like even there, I did a motion where it would parry the blade, make it slide off, like the opponent's blade would slide off mine, and I would sidestep and then follow through with a cut. I showed you guys that before in a drill. There I was just cutting it, but it actually went through. So that's my little, I guess, tip for you guys. Try to employ your actual fighting techniques when you're cutting. Like even here, I'm doing like a smothering parrying technique and then a cut, which didn't work out too well. That wasn't a perfect cut, but and to be honest, another tip I can give is when you're doing your test cutting, try to stick with one cut, maybe two. Don't throw everything out there because you're training how to cut and refine a particular technique. If you're throwing everything in the kitchen sink out there, it's not going to work. So like pick one or two cuts to work on and then focus on those. And that will help because the whole test cutting in the first place is to help refine our actual fighting technique. Make your cutting part of that training. Otherwise, you're kind of working against yourself. And it just doesn't make any sense. You should always try to work with the techniques that you would use. That's the whole point. So yeah, that's the reason why I wanted to do this video. Also I was just working some kinks out. I really need to refine my form, but that's what I wanted to do for today. Just remember that. Work on your actual technique when you're cutting. So catch you guys later.